Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be giving you a field report from the third comic book shop that I went to on comic book free on May 3rd, 2025, free comic book day. So basically, Scott, why the heck are you going to three comic book shops? Well, I'm going to three comic book shops, and the reason why I am going to three comic book shops is there are 30 comics out, 30 free comics you can get on free comic book day, but each shop will only let you get 10. So I want to get as many as I can on free comic book day. I have four comic book shops that are local to me, and that's all within a 10-minute drive. That's very, very close to me. That's not even going into Philadelphia. That's not even going into Wilmington, right? So I'm very fortunate, and so I wanted to get these comics, so I went out and I looked for them, right? So now I'm going to give you the report for the third comic shop. So the third comic shop is the farthest away from me. It's only about, I'd say, it's exactly about 10 minutes away by drive. And it's getting closer to the Delaware area, right? And this shop is very interesting. So they've been around for easily 20 years, right? And I used to go to them quite a bit, and I really liked them. And the reason why I went to them before is I had a different job, and when I would drive from my job, I would stop by this comic shop because it was more proximally there. And so and this comic shop was really always fantastic. So let me tell you the structure on this comic shop, and I'll give you a note on how they are today, right? So they are a fantastic comic shop, but just like all good comic shops today, it really is not about the comic books. They had a guy who bought toys. And so this shop, they had a guy, the guy who owned the comic shop absolutely loved toys. He loved collectible toys. And so he would go out and he would buy whole collections of toys. And then he would bring them back to the shop, and he would sell quite a bit through the shop itself, but they also had a comic book section in the shop. But the primary focus of the shop was toys, okay? Now the primary owner of that shop, he died, and he died very young. He was less than 45 years old. He might have been less than 40. It was odd. Every time, in fact, it was so odd, I didn't ask any questions, right? Like I don't know if he died of cancer. I don't know if he died of something more strange. I don't know, right? But he died, and it was very sad. Now, everybody got real worried for a second, and then they remembered I'm pretty sure he had a partner, right? I don't know if they put labels on their stuff. I think traditionally you would say girlfriend. I don't think they were married. It's possible they were married. But one of the things that was really unique about this shop was they were really super big LGBTQ allies, right? And so I think like maybe they may have been married, but they were kind of like ashamed of that because like it's so bog standard normie muggle stuff, right? And they were super into supporting the LGBTQ community in the tri-state area. That's where I live, right? And so how did they do that? How did they actually support, LGBTQ stuff with a comic shop? Well, they did a really good job of supporting that community. One, they bought LGBTQ comics, right? Not everybody does, right? And they actually sought it out, and they would stock it on their shelves, right? And then also they had this comic shop did so well, not from the comics, but from the vintage toy. Actually, I shouldn't even say vintage. They bought, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, all that stuff, right? And then even older stuff too. But I didn't want to say vintage like this was 50s and 60s stuff. They had cool 80s and 90s stuff too, right? Transformers, all the cool stuff, cool American toys. But they did very well. So when the shop next to them went out of business, they actually bought it, and they made it into an empty space where they could hold events, where they could hold signings, where they could hold Magic the Gathering tournaments, where they could let people run D&D and things like that. But one of the things they did that I went to for quite a few months was they had a comic book discussion day, and you would read a graphic novel, and then you would come and discuss the graphic novel. It was pretty cool, right? But a bunch of those was LGBTQ comics, right? And they were, and also they were like, they were very like, hey, you could come discuss these LGBTQ comics unless you don't like LGBTQ. This is a safe space. If you have harsh opinions about LGBTQ people, you can't come, and you can't say what you. They didn't say you can't come. They're like, they do. If you didn't like LGBTQ people, that wasn't part of the discussion, right? It was. They were like, we're gonna keep a. They kept it. They literally used the term safe space, and they had rules up to what you could say in the shop and what you could. And again, this is what I'm saying: is they were very real, genuine LGBTQ allies. Now, I ended up in probably 2 or 3 of the LGBTQ book discussions, but I didn't know they were LGBTQ book discussions because they were like, we went in and were like, Iceman is gay, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that, and they're like, well, it's not in this book, but canonically he's gay. And I was like, okay. So, and this is my point. Like, they would kind of steer things to that, they were very genuine LGBTQ allies, which I also, and the reason I'm putting it out there is none of the other shops that I went to they were not, LGBTQ allies, but this was really important to them. The main guy dies. Then the lady woman who was either his girlfriend or his wife picked up the slack, right? Now, I haven't been to this place in probably a year and a half, right? So I go in today. My experience in this shop was terrible today, and I could not be more thrilled. Here's why I was really thrilled to have a terrible experience at the shop. Okay, I went in, and it was packed. It was absolutely packed. There were people everywhere. They had their full regular space. They had their they had the store next door that they had already bought out years ago, right? So they had their full space open, and that second space was really nice and open, and all the free comics were laid out, and I was able to get my 10 other comics. So today I'm pretty sure I got about 25 to 30 different comics, which was really nice, and they helped me get there. They helped me get comics that I didn't get at other places. They also had some comics that I had not seen at any other places, which was really cool. I was very excited about that, right? And so I was really thankful, but I wanted to buy stuff, and by the way, they had completely redone all their shelves, and the place looked better than it had ever looked. And I really wanted to just tool around, enjoy the shop. They had a really good tabletop role-playing game section with like 4th edition stuff, and they had 5th edition Lord of the Rings books. I was blown away and extremely impressed. And I really just wanted to enjoy the shop, but it was packed. There were people in every aisle. It was hard to even walk in there, which I'm thrilled about, right? Like, I don't go to that shop, right? But they're a friendly local game shop. They also are LGBTQ allies. I think everybody should love LGBTQ people. Everybody should be allies of the LGBTQ, right? And we're all human. We should all love each other, right? There's, I think, I always thought it was interesting that was like a really, like, it was a very genuine part of their business. Like, it was part of their business model. I think it might have even been in their mission statement, right? Which other shops, they weren't just like, hey, we sell comics, right? Like they weren't like, they weren't like, we're changing the world. Like, it was different. It was different. It was really different. But I was really thrilled to see that this place was doing so well. They did have the 5e Lord of the Rings book, and I don't have that in hardback, and I was really hoping, and a lot of stuff was like 50% off, right? And I was like, if this book is 50% off, I am yoinking this immediately. So I did. So I actually spent about 5-10 minutes trying to find somebody in the shop to talk to who worked for the shop. Finally found somebody and said, hey, do you have any discount on the tabletop role-playing game stuff? And they're like, no, we got lots of discounts today, but they're on comics. So I was like, okay, no worries, thank you. So I just yoinked out with my free comics, and I didn't buy anything. And one of the reasons why is even the line was ridiculously long. You couldn't move through the aisles, and the line was outrageously long. And I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled that I personally had a terrible experience at that shop because I couldn't move and get the things that I wanted to buy. But I can go back later this week. Will I? I don't know. And the reason why is I need more comics. Like I need a hole in my head. I got too many. I got too many hobbies, right? I love collecting tabletop role-playing games. I love collecting Lego. I love collecting comics. Do I need another shop? I don't know. Really, like, so I may or may not go back, but I was really thrilled to see that they were doing so well. They deserve it. And I'm really thankful to you for letting me share my field reports for what was happening on May 3rd, 2025, Free Comic Book Day. I had a great day on Free Comic Book Day. What's better than getting free comics? Nothing, right? Like, very few things. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinions on comic books. And I'd love to hear the stories about comic shops in your area. I would love to see. And by the way, all of the comic shops in my area are doing great. They got another year. Tariffs be darned. You know, like all of these, every single one of these places should have went out of business. You know, everybody's like, oh, you can't run a small business today. And you hear these horror stories, but the comic shops in my area are going gangbusters. What's it like in your area? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.